Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Source, and it is officially NFL season. Cue the applause. The wait is over. Week 1 is here. Before I get into it, if you are getting in on the Against the Spread contest for Week 1, I'm giving something away every week. Week 1, I'm giving away a signed Keenan Allen helmet. You make 4 picks. Winner gets the helmet. If you want in on that and you're including this game in one of your picks, it has to be in by 8 p.m. Thursday night. You can wait till Sunday if you want, but obviously you won't be able to choose this game as one of your 4 picks. So let's get into it. Everyone knows who's playing. It's Lions at Chiefs. Super Bowl champions always host Week 1 Thursday Night Football. Line opens up Chiefs minus 6.5. Total opens up 53.5. Let's go.
Welcome to The Source. The Source. Source. Hey, get the Source.
So this line's been dropping. Like I said, it opened at 6.5. It was at 6.5 earlier in the week. It's down to 4.5 on most books now. Obviously, this is largely due to the Chris Jones and the Travis Kelce news, which we'll get into in a second. Public pretty split even on this one. Sharp action, slightly leaning towards Detroit. So let's start off with the Chiefs, because like I said earlier, 2 huge pieces, possibly not in the lineup for this one. First one being Travis Kelce, as I'm sure you've heard. Looks like from what we're reading here, his ACL's intact, which is great news, but doesn't look like he's going to play in this Week 1 game. Now, obviously, that's a blow to the Chiefs offense without a doubt, but Patrick Mahomes has played without Travis Kelce before, twice actually, and his numbers in those games are solid. 69% completions, 8.3 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Chiefs won both games, and Tyreek Hill only had 2 catches for 19 yards in those 2 games combined. So despite having mostly a group of unproven weapons to throw to, I think Mahomes and the Chiefs offense is going to be fine. To me, the much more important talking point is Chris Jones. He's likely to continue his holdout and not play in this game. He had 15.5 sacks and 29 quarterback hits last year. He also played 80% of the Chiefs' defensive snaps last season, which is the highest percentage in the NFL amongst defensive linemen. Now, you might take a look at the Chiefs' edge rushers. Karlaftis is out there, Dana. You might look at those guys in their production last year and be like, hey, the Chiefs should be fine. But keep in mind, a lot of their production came when Chris Jones was being double-teamed. I don't think people realize how much of an impact Chris Jones had on that defense last year. Chris Jones faced double teams at the highest rate in the NFL, yes, including Aaron Donald. And despite that, he's still ranked first in the league in pressures, pass rush win rate, and pass rush win rate versus double teams amongst defensive tackles. On top of that, Chris Jones just always seemed to show up when it mattered most, right? 71% of his sacks closed an opponent's drive, and he had 34 fourth-quarter pressures, which also led the NFL. Check this out. Over the last 5 years, the Chiefs ranked first in the NFL in pressure rate, right? First in the last 5 years, with Jones on the field. When Chris Jones is off the field, they're 28th in pressure rate in the last 5 years. So yeah, this dude changes the entire defense. So how does that match up against the Lions offense? Well, real quick summary of the Lions season. Heading into Week 8, they were 1-6, 4-19-1 under Dan Campbell's tenure. It was looking bad, and then it finally happened. The Lions started playing winning football, as I'm sure you know, closing the season on an 8-2 run, securing a 9-8 record, their first winning season since 2017. During that span, the Lions went from a team that averaged 24.7 points a game and allowed 32.1 points a game through their first 7, to a team that averaged 28 points a game and allowing just 20.2 points a game in their final 10. That's a 15-point swing in average scoring margin. Offensively, we saw Jared Goff close the season by throwing 324 consecutive passes without an interception, the 5th longest streak in NFL history. He also posted his best passer rating since 2018. Goff was especially good at taking care of the football, and as a result, the Lions' 15 turnovers were the fewest in the NFL. Now, remember when I said the Chiefs' pass rush is first with Chris Jones on the field and 28th without him? Well, that plays directly into the strength of Jared Goff. Look at these splits here. When Jared Goff was given a clean pocket last year, he had a 113.6 passer rating, which was 3rd best in the NFL. When pressured, his number dropped all the way down to a 59.6, which is just 30th best in the NFL. So you can see why Chris Jones not playing is a huge factor. And it's even more bad news for KC's pass rush when you factor in the Lions were 2nd in adjusted sack rate and 10th in pressure allowed in 2022. And check this out. The Lions offensive tackles, Sewell and Decker, the pair of them, they finished 4th in the NFL in lowest blown block rate, according to Sports Info Solutions. Their interior line, the 2 guards in the center, they finished 30th in the same category. The Lions were strong in the edge when it comes to pass blocking, but vulnerable on the interior. So without Chris Jones, and with the Lions getting their guard back from injury, Vitae, who missed all of last season, Chiefs defensive front might be in some trouble here. Also, it's not like the Chiefs defense was the most fearsome unit in the first place. I mean, yes, they were top 3 in adjusted sack rate. They had a pass rush. We know that. But even with that pass rush last year, they were 17th in overall defensive DVOA, 20th in pass DVOA, 15th against the run. Now you add in losses like Carlos Dunlap, that guy Saunders, Juan Thornhill, Frank Clark, lost all those guys in the offseason. I think the Chiefs defense may take a big step backwards this year. But there is one huge positive angle for the Chiefs defense in this matchup. This game's being played in Arrowhead. Jared Goff nowhere near as effective on the road last year. Goff was insane at Ford Field last year, throwing 23 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. A 109.3 passer rating, was the second best in the NFL at home. But on the road, drops to 6 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. His average passer rating drops to an 87.4, just 18th best. And obviously, this affected the Lions offense as a whole. You can see on this chart here, Lions were top 3 in points per game, red zone percentage, third down percentage at home, but bottom 15 in the ranks on the road. So while the Lions may be catching the Chiefs defense in a vulnerable spot, are they capable of exploiting it? Now let's flip it around and talk about the other side, because it wasn't just the Lions offense that made a huge turnaround last year. Defense showed up in a big way in the second half of the season as well. Aiden Hutchinson, weeks 1 through 9, had just 14 hurries and 21 pressures, according to Sports Info Solutions. But from weeks 10 to 18, those numbers skyrocketed to 23 hurries and 32 pressures. Also, lesser known 6th round draft pick James Houston, check this out, spent the first 7 weeks of the season on the practice squad, gets called up, and in the rest of the season has 8 sacks and 15 pressures. It's on the practice squad. Now, if you look at last year's numbers as a whole, the Lions defense was not good, but like I said, they caught their groove around week 9, and if you isolate it to just those games, we look at how the defense finished out the season: 11th fewest points per game, just 20.2, and the 5th most sacks at 2.8, and the 6th most takeaways. So the Lions defense was playing well the second half of the season. And did you see what the Lions did in the offseason? They added an entire fleet of defensive backs. Cameron Sutton, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Emmanuel Mosley, second-round rookie Brian Branch, all brought in over the summer to bolster a pass defense that was getting crucified in the first half of the season. The most notable of those would probably be Cameron Sutton, who allowed just 46% completions when targeted last year, 3rd in the NFL amongst qualified corners. So I know this sounds crazy to say, but we might be looking at a mismatch as far as the Lions corners against the Chiefs receivers. We're going to see Kadarius Toney, Valdez-Scantling, and Sky Moore. Lions are pretty stacked in the secondary now. As I said earlier, Mahomes is plenty good enough to overcome this matchup, but there is some concerns over who's going to be protecting him. Now, the Chiefs offensive line did a good job of protecting Mahomes last year, 5th in adjusted sack rate, 14th in pressure rate allowed, but they lost both their starting tackles from last season, Orlando Brown Jr. and Andrew Wiley, gone. Now, they did bring in 2 tackles to replace them, one being Jawan Taylor, who they made the 2nd highest paid right tackle in the league, deservingly so. He was 3rd in the NFL in pressure rate allowed amongst right tackles last season. But Donovan Smith at left tackle is a lot more risky. I mean, he's coming off an injury-riddled season with the Bucs, and as I mentioned earlier, the Lions' pass rush was real in the second half of the season with Hutchinson in Houston. And then you add on the fact that Mahomes is playing without his safety blanket, Travis Kelce. I mean, how many times has Kelce bailed Mahomes out of high-pressure situations? I'm not saying the Lions defense is going to shut Mahomes down or shut the Chiefs down, but I think they could shock us and play well. Real quick, let's read off some betting trends here. Chiefs 3-6-1 against the spread at home last year, so not good. 8-2-1 against the spread versus NFC teams since 2021, though. They've played well against the NFC. Unders at Arrowhead, 14-8 to the under since 2021. Wouldn't have guessed that. On the Lions side, we got 10-6 against the spread in their last 16 as road dogs. Since Dan Campbell took over, they're 10-7 to the under on the road, so unders have been hitting for the Lions in their road games as well. Before we get to the bet, I got an underdog pick him in from Prop Beaver himself. It's a 3-pick with the Patrick Mahomes bonus added. We got Jahmyr Gibbs higher than 11.65 fantasy points, Harrison Butker higher than 7.5 kicker points, Isaiah Pacheco lower than 9.5 receiving yards, and obviously Patrick Mahomes over 1/2 passing yard. That's a bonus they're offering right now. So whatever, if you're going to place an underdog pick 'em down, make sure you include that. If you don't have an underdog fantasy account, it's available to any state highlighted in orange here. So head over to Underdog Fantasy, the website, or download the app. Make sure you use the promo code BET, B-E-T, get you a $100 deposit bonus. You deposit $100, they'll give you $100 free to play with. As far as what I'm personally doing in this game, I'm taking the under for starters. I'm taking the under at 52.5. I know everyone's thinking points, but the total continues to drop. It was up at 54.5. Now it's down to 52.5. As far as betting aside, I'm taking the Lions. I'm going to take the points of the Lions. It's crazy that the Lions feels like the square side. That sounds crazy. Wish it was still at 6.5, but I'll take Detroit plus 4.5 and the under at 52.5. Let's get the NFL season started. If you want my top bets, parlay of the day, if you want to get in on the NFL against the spread competition, or if you want to join the Discord, all that information can be found at KyleKirms.com. So head over there if you're interested. NFL Week 1 is here. We got college football on Saturday. Loaded weekend betting wise. Remember to bet responsibly, and I will talk to you on Twitter.